All right, here we are once again. Travis Lofke here with the Human Upgrade Project. And before I get into the actual episode, because it always takes a few minutes for people to show up on lives, let's jump into Random², where we get to learn about bizarre, odd, national American holidays that some people care about enough to make calendars of and make sure that we know about them. And some of them are pretty awesome. Like yesterday was Jerky Day. There's a Bacon Day, which is amazing in itself, really. Tomorrow's national holidays are... Hey, Yuri, what's up? Tomorrow's national holidays are National Sewing Machine Day. So if you like sewing and you have a sewing machine, there's a day for your sewing machine. And a very cool one tomorrow, June 13th, is National Juggling Day. I like juggling. Juggling's fun. There was National Yo-Yo Day just the other day. That was cool too. I didn't find my yo-yo, but oh well. Maybe I'll come across it and play with it a little bit. Side note on this, I'll show you guys. I was going to bring my juggling balls up here, and I didn't. I'm not like a superior juggler or anything, but watch this. So these are my nicotine replacement chewing things that they're working pretty well. I'm still going strong. Yay for me. But watch this. So these bottle things and then a little plug thing. We'll see if I can juggle that with this cord in my way without breaking anything. Yeah. Ready? Oh yeah. There we go. Boom. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Look at me go. You never know what you're going to see when you come to my show. And if you didn't see that, if for some reason this is on a podcast somewhere and you're just listening, just envision me juggling 3 random things from my desk. Barely, because this microphone that I'm using is attached to my head and the computer via a cord, the old-fashioned way. So with that said, we're right at about the 3-minute mark, which I like to get to, so that those that want to come onto the live can. And we might as well just get it going. Travis Lofke here with the Human Upgrade Project, where I dissect, deconstruct, and optimize what it takes to be a remarkable, extraordinary human being, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And you get to watch me make mistakes and learn from those along the way. The biggest question I have always had my entire life is, what makes some people more extraordinary than others? And how are some people able to be in that zone of extraordinariness? I just made that up, that's a word. How are some people able to maintain that zone of being extraordinary for extended periods of time? Months, years, etc. And call on that when they need it. It's basically like what some people call the flow state, peak performance, being in the zone. And it doesn't just apply to sports. I'm talking about life. All areas of life. All areas of the human mind, body, spirit. With that said, tonight's episode 21. We're in double digits now. How to turn on a simple superpower. Very simple. You're going to love this one. And what's with the high voltage copper wire that I had last night? And I took it out of my office. I was going to show you. Not prepared with my props tonight. It's big high voltage copper wire. So how you can turn on a superpower, simple superpower, by the time we're done watching this, as a matter of fact. And what am I going to do with this industrial copper wire? How is it going to make me even more extraordinary, or more extraordinary than I don't know. to even just get on the next step of the remarkableness. We'll see. It all kind of fits together. I'm going to start with the copper wire. So you may or may not have heard of something. This is I'm pulling out all my hippie stuff on this one. Every once in a while I reach deep and I pull out a lot of hippie things. However, they are scientifically proven. Sometimes, most of them will be scientifically proven, right? Or there'll be some evidence somewhere showing a benefit. This gets into what is called grounding, or depending on where you live in the world, earthing. It's if you call it grounding, it's very similar to electrical grounding, but it's for our bodies. The simplest way to do grounding, let me back up here. What is grounding? Grounding is what I just said. Grounding is basically putting your body in contact with the earth, because the earth resonates at a certain frequency and has an electrical charge and gives off electrons and all of this good stuff, right? And our bodies have an electrical field and energy and all of that, which is proven also. And when you spend more time in contact, like contact barefoot, whatever, like your body in contact with the earth, it's been shown to have benefits mentally and physically and all of the above, spiritually, and on and on. The reason I thought about this, I heard about it, I don't remember. A lot of this stuff I just hear about along the way, and then I hear about it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that about, forever ago, and I'm going to check into this now. So I looked into it a little bit in the past, and what made me want to do more research into it was the fact that with my leg thing going on, my little injury to the lower right quadrant of this body, and during my powerlifting training, and even in doing ballet, I noticed that when I spent more time outdoors, barefoot specifically, I healed faster and I just felt better in general, slept better and all of that. The catalyst to all of noticing that, however, was not just spending time outside. It was when I got into cold exposure training and I was spending time in the river, like summer, spring, fall, winter, all year round. I was going down the river to do this cold exposure training to build my tolerance up for that and see what benefits that had. When I stopped doing that for a period of time, started training again, and noticed that my body wasn't responding the same way it did when I spent time outdoors, not specifically just in the river, because you don't have to be in the river, but I was doing that in the river, right? I'm in the river, in the water, moving on the earth. And I noticed that from training and everything else, I was basically recovering faster, and like I said, sleeping better and all that. So getting into the copper wire. What is the copper wire for? Well, apparently you can ground, they have grounding mats that you can use for your office, where you take a wire or whatever. They sell these things that you can plug into the wall that actually go through the ground in your house. And I'm still trying to figure out what's better, because you can also take this wire, run it outside, and drive a metal stake into the ground and bring that back into the house, so you have a direct line to the earth to put a grounding mat in your office or grounding mat. They have material that you can use to sleep on, all sorts of stuff. However, just a little side note, don't go do this. There are a few things, right, that electricity, you plug it into the wall in your house, you better know what you're doing. You only use the ground, kind of a thing. The outdoor one, probably a good idea to put an inline fuse in there in case like electricity, something hits it, like lightning. However, I don't think a little fuse is going to stop lightning from coming through it. So you got to just kind of weigh your options and how risk tolerant you are on that. I haven't decided which direction I'm going to go with it yet, but I am going to play around with doing that and having it set up something in my office and having something set up in my bedroom for my bed for sleeping, to see if doing that along with the outdoors will help speed up my recovery even more and help with sleep and everything else. So that's where the copper wire comes in. I'll keep you updated on that because it's a little bit of a project, so I'm not going to be doing anything with that this week. I will do it on the weekend, and I'll take you through everything I'm doing. I still need to do some more research on it too, because I don't have all the details of what I need to do to make it safe and work like it's supposed to. I don't know if I can just run the wire outside, put it in the ground, and wrap it around my leg while I'm working. I don't know, that might work. So the poor man's version of grounding right there. The reason that I put these two together, also the grounding and the simple superpower, is because I would not have noticed this about my training and about how it made me feel being outside. I didn't notice it right away. It wasn't like I went out there, I was like, yeah, I feel amazing. This is great. Woo! It was because I pay attention and I'm very, very aware. Almost more often than not, I am super, super hyper aware of how my body and mind are doing. And that's how I noticed that. And that's what the simple superpower is that most people don't cultivate nowadays, because we spend so much time using technology for everything, which is not a bad thing, but I'm baffled by how unaware people are of just their surroundings when they're doing anything. Like when I'm at the gym and I go in and there's somebody has their crap all over the bench that I want to also use, that's big enough for like 4 people, and you're standing right next to them and they don't even notice you're there. It's like, really? When I started thinking about this, another thing I remembered too, this is a good little story here. Another thing I remembered was growing up on a ranch. This is where all this hyper awareness came from. I didn't just happen one day. I didn't come across some guru somewhere or whatever. It was basically growing up on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere. You learn to be very, very aware of your surroundings and the things that are going on around you, which I ended up taking to a whole nother level, right? But the reason you do that is because things on a ranch can kill you. And I, over the years, growing up, would hear stories about how, Bob over on the Smith Ranch or whatever across the way, how he's in the hospital now because he got caught in an auger while he was putting post holes, building fence, drilling post holes for the fence posts, and a piece of clothing or something got caught in the auger, sucked him down into it, like ripped his arm off, or something really bad. I mean, like literally, there's stories of that happening where like dudes' arms get ripped off. I heard a story one time. This didn't happen out where I was at, but I heard this story one time where a dude, both of his arms got ripped off. Like literally both of his arms got ripped off, and somehow he didn't die. He had to like walk home. It was a crazy story, right? So that kind of stuff, if you're not paying attention, you're not aware of what's going on, you could die. Other situations too, barbed wire fence, that's always fun because when you're putting that in there, you basically use what's called a come along, and you tighten the thing up so tight that if you're not paying attention, you make it too tight, it snaps and wraps around you, and it's a bad day. Heard a lot of stories of those too. The best part about this though was the one instance that I really remember that happened to me specifically was we went to buy a wood splitter one time. And I don't remember, a lot of stuff happened between when I was like 9, 10, 11. And we go buy this wood splitter, put it in the back of the truck. And my dad and his buddies are putting the wheel chocks in, putting it in there. And I noticed that they didn't tie it down. I was looking at it, I'm just a kid, I didn't know, but I was looking at it thinking, this doesn't look very secure. So we take off, and this This is great. So I don't know what my dad's age was at the time. I'm assuming he was like in his 30s or something. So he's got a new truck and he's showing off to his buddies how fast it'll go. And we're flying down the road. And I realize I'm like, there's the end of the road's coming up. We're going really fast. We have a big wood splitter in the back of the truck here on wheels. And this doesn't look like we should be slowing down a lot sooner than this. And sure enough, he ends up having to pretty much slam on the brakes. However, during this time, I had turned around. I was sitting in the middle of the truck with his bench seat, right? I was sitting in the middle, and it was not like these extra cabs and everything, so the window's right behind us. And I'm looking behind off and on, looking at this thing in the back of the truck just kind of rattling around while we're hauling butt down the road, thinking, yeah, that thing's not... As soon as we start slowing down, it's going to start rolling forward, and the big metal end of it is right there at my face, right at the back of my head. So I'm looking at this thing going, all right, well, this thing's not secure. And as soon as we started slamming on the brakes, I looked and saw that thing coming and ducked out of the way while this thing came smashing through the window. So everybody was freaking out. Nobody else. I was like, you guys seriously didn't... This is what I'm thinking in my head. You seriously didn't realize that this thing was going to come flying through the window? I mean, you're adults. Start adulting. Don't do that, actually. Don't start adulting. Adulting is really boring and no fun. But that was like the holy crap, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of yourself and your mind, your body, and your spirit, and all of that. Not enough people pay attention to those aspects of themselves, and then they wonder why they don't get the results they want in the areas of their life that they're trying to get results in. I don't know why this isn't working. Well, have you sat down and thought about it? Have you sat down and analyzed and looked at? Are you aware of what's happening mentally when you're doing said thing? Physically, how are you doing when you did this thing? Did this happen in the past? You have to just be aware at all times, and you don't have to make it a job. Just pay attention. Sometimes look around, see what's going on. It's not hard to develop this thing either. I wrote down a couple things. I didn't tell you. So really, really, I have a whole program on this, but this is a couple things you can do. I mentioned this in a previous episode. When you're eating food, at least once a day, when you eat, sit down and just eat and see how many flavors you can taste and what you smell and the whole thing. Just sit and enjoy your food. No TV, no phone, no nothing. Just you and your food. You actually get to enjoy it and enjoy all the sensations, right? That's one thing. I will stop literally, when I work from different areas, and I will stop at certain times more often than not. I will take my food that I bring with me, and I will move to another table, or I will go someplace else that doesn't have my computer on it or my phone, and I will sit and just eat. And I'll look outside and I'll see what's going on around me. Look up. Try looking up sometime too. Not necessarily when you're eating, just when you're doing whatever. It sounds weird, but how much of the time do you spend looking down because you're either looking at your smartwatch or your smartphone or your smart whatever, and not your phones and your watches are becoming smarter than we are because we're losing the capacity to even notice what's happening at eye level because we're here all the time. What's going on? Very narrow tunnel vision focus in the worst way possible. While you're looking around, if you want to take this to another level, I'm not going to get into super detail on this, but if you want to get in if you really want to, here's a simple little thing you can do. The places that you go most often, how much do you know about those locations? I don't mean about the location specifically. I mean, You probably go to the same coffee shop fairly often. You drive the same car probably every day, right? Actually, you probably come to the same house. You come home every day. How how many times have you sat down at your house or in your car or at the coffee shop you go to or the bookstore or wherever and just stopped and actually looked around at every little detail? Now you don't have to stand there for a half an hour, but look around at a couple of things. Oh, what's that? I didn't notice that piece of art there before. I didn't notice that whatever. You will notice things that you didn't know were there before. And the fun part too is just be fascinated again. It's like, wow, that is really amazing on how I didn't realize that that piece of art was there. And if you look at it closely and the lines that are in it, that's a pretty cool thing. The other thing you can pay attention to also, besides the external environment of where you're at, is your internal environment. When you go to different locations or after you eat a meal or before and after you eat a meal and while and during eating that meal, what are you thinking about? What is your body? Are you hot? Are you cold? Is there a breeze? Does something smell weird? Does somebody smell good? Does something not smell at all? Do we even notice that stuff? That's the superpower that people don't, and it sounds goofy, but it's not, because that's what the people that are in the zone and are doing peak performance in their life more often than not, because it happens to all of us, right? We do something and it's like, man, that was awesome. I nailed that thing. Whether it's a sport or it's a speech or it's just talking to a girl or talking to anybody, right? Or just doing this thing. You're like, wow, I was on my game. I was flowing. This was amazing. But if you're not paying attention and building that awareness muscle throughout your day and life, then how are you going to know how to duplicate that when it happens? And that's what I've noticed, that those people that are really on and really understand how to get the most out of their body and mind, they know, they are aware, they understand what's going on. Got a little ranty there. But it's true. It's something that that the more you do, the better you get, and the better you get, the more you want to do, because the more things start falling together. So things just start falling into place and things start happening, and you'll be like, how did that happen? That was amazing. I went to play volleyball with some friends, and it was amazing. I like nailed it. I was spiking it and serving it and bumping it or whatever. It doesn't matter. Or I went to an event, a networking event, to talk to people, and I was just like on. And that stuff will happen more often than not, the more often that you practice this awareness, strategy, technique, everything. So, I have something I've already put it together. I don't know if or when I'll put it out for everybody. I've had some people beta test it already that really liked it. So, I'm playing with ideas on how we can do it as a community versus just as here's a thing, go learn it. It's going to be interactive, day by day, all of that. And that way you can also build, that's the base of everything. It's actually awareness, perspective, and philosophy. Because if you're not aware of what's going on around you, your perspective of what's going on around you is probably skewed, and you're not able to see from other people's perspectives, which then in turn skews your philosophy about life, business, whatever. because you don't have the awareness or the perspective to be able to build a philosophy that actually is going to make you better than you are currently. Wow, this one just got, I don't know, I just kind of went off on this one. Let me see if I have any other notes here, because I'm just going to end it with that, but do that. Quick recap. Next time you're doing anything in a place that you frequent often, stop, turn off your phone, or look away from your phone or your watch or whatever. Look up, look around, see what's going on around you. Then when you sit down, just for a second, be like, is this chair soft or hard, or is it cold? What's going on with the temperature in here? That kind of thing. Just do a quick head to toe analysis. That way, when you do have things that come up, like what happened with me, it may not hit you right away, but you'll be at some point down the road, it'll hit you and you'll be like, oh, wow. I remember like 3 months ago, I was doing this thing. I was out in the mountains, or I was at a coffee shop, and then something happened. And when that thing happened, it set off a chain of events, and those chain of events were amazing, right? So there's too many variables to get into a specific example besides the one that I just went through on myself for recovery and healing. And with that said, I didn't plan on going this long tonight. I will also be doing more updates on the copper wire, on the grounding, on the earthing, and I'll show you everything that I'm doing with that. Specific details of that will be going into the group, into the community. So again, if you're not part of that, then you're going to miss a few things. And if you've watched this long, then you should be part of the community. I mean, it's a no-brainer at this point. That's about all I've got. Like I usually say, like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this, or just share the page, and we'll get more people in here. I'm going to start trying to generate a little more buzz. And as I am continuing to grow myself and get better at communicating what I'm trying to communicate here, let me know if there are any topics, mind, body, spirit related, that you would like covered, because I'm going into everything. Biohacking, mind hacking, mindfulness, brain hacks, life hacks, combined with the positive thinking side of, the see, now my brain just shut off. I need a brain hack myself. Mind hack myself. Oh man. Anyways, I'm pulling all of it together, mind, body, spirit, and we're going to see what we can do together to be as extraordinary more often than not as we can, and be in that zone and know how to get there. That's the biggest thing. What are the things that that's where the awareness comes in also. And that was one of the reasons I brought this up, is because when you know certain key components of what works for you, doing the 21/7 protocol and doing other things become much, much easier. So I'm going to call it with that. As always, like, share, comment, let me know if you have any questions, and have an amazing day, because it's better than the alternative.